Well, welcome, friends and music lovers. And today is a special edition stream. We are going metal. Yes,
Yes.
yes, metal. And yeah, there we go. And from what I've been told, not being a metal guy, but whatever, this is one of the best metal albums of all time. So, without further ado, let me introduce my panel. My co-host, Mr. Pope Metaliicus. Yes, ladies, he's still single, but headbanger in chief. And this guy remembers and knows stuff that Judas Priest has forgotten. So there we go. Pope Metaliicus, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, man. I'm excited to be talking about this album again. I did one on my stream, I think last year about it, and it's been way too long because I love talking this record.
Good. That's a perfect co-host. And of course, a aficionado and a very good metalhead in his own way, Mr. John Daswolfen. Thanks, John. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, happy to be here. Yeah. This is probably the best driving album that Judas Priest has. You can just put this album on and just cruise with it.
Yes. And I've been guilty of that, as people in the chat might know, and the watchers. I'm a truck driver, and I've been listening to this while trucking, and trust me, it is motivating, very much so. And just to show you, I got this out of my.
Nice.
This is an original
Nice.
one from 1980s. Like, trust me, it's been loved a lot. And what I find exciting is the inside here, the inside sleeve with all lyrics in the back. I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, they don't do that anymore. You don't get this with CDs. And this is such a good steel. Look how good of a shape this is in.
Nice. For
CBS
something that's
record, yes.
almost 40, actually, I think will be 40 years old next year. That's
Actually,
amazing.
Yeah. It
Older
came
than
out in
you.
84.
Yeah. So, Pope, let's start with you. What makes this so good?
Well, I mean, it's coming off of, in my opinion, the best heavy metal album of all time, being Screaming for Vengeance by the same band. And they took everything that they did right and that everybody loves about that the previous album and just built on it and made it better. I won't say it's as good as Screaming, but this is 80s Priest. They were knocking it out of the park left, right, and center. And they were not only playing well, but they were basically redefining what metal was going to be going into its high point in the mid 80s. So this is a superb example of this band if you've never heard them before.
And I would assume a great introductionary album, let's say, to get your foot wet.
Oh
your
yeah,
toes wet.
both with Priest and 80s metal as a whole. I would say this is a good album to start people out on because it's not the heaviest, it's not the screamiest, but god damn is it good.
Nice. And you, John, what make you like this album?
Well, from the cover art, just start with the cover art. The cat tank is just unique. And they did a good job with that. But just as soon as you put it on from the very first song, Free Will Burning, it just drives, and it rocks through the whole thing, and yet it still has some tender moments with some of the ballads.
Yep. And I would just like to state that this album came out first, so Spark Mandrill from Mega Man X is a copy of this, not the other way around.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, let me just do this here. Sorry, I'm still new at this. There's the inside sleeve, and you got all five. And I believe these are all five original members, right, guys?
No.
Okay.
Ian and Ken are originals. Glenn joined like a year later. Rob actually came in 74.
Yeah.
And then the drummer has been a rotating list pretty much their entire career. Although they've stuck with their current drummer, Scott Travis, for the last like 30 years. So I think he's here to stay.
Okay. Nice. All right. So here's them. Now, okay, I got a little anecdote about this. Like back in 84, I was in middle school. I was in grade 8, and I was all of 13 years old. But this man, Rob Alfin, made the studs. Okay, the stud bracelet, the stud bands, the stud everything. He made that a fashion statement. We had 3 styles in our school in grade 8. We had construction boots, lumberman jackets, and stud bracelets. So thank you, sir. Yes, and I still remember that vividly. 35 years later.
Oh yeah, I had a very similar gauntlet in high school.
Yeah.
I also had the pyramids, the typical 3-row pyramid spike belt.
Of course.
Yeah. Had the.
And I think it's kind of ironic that, everyone before, Rob Halford popularized it, it was kind of a thing in the gay community, and that was it. And then they're like, oh, yeah, well, they brought it into the mainstream like metal scene, and it became part of the image of what it is to be a metalhead.
That's right.
Then like 8 years later, Rob Halford came out. So it's like, oh, oops.
Right.
Well, the thing is, when he came out, though, it was like
works.
The metal community was like, like we didn't figure that already.
Yeah, it's like most people already knew, I think.
Yeah.
And the rest of us that didn't were just like, don't care. Still a great singer.
Yep.
And don't forget, notice that he was a pioneer. He did not make this his calling card. That wasn't his identity. He was a great singer. He was a great dude, great songwriter, great everything. Unlike present day, unfortunately, it wasn't his whole identity.
Yeah.
And I have to respect the man for that.
Yeah. Well, the irony is, despite the reputation, the metal community as a whole is very welcoming to all sorts of people. It doesn't matter. We don't care what color your skin is. We don't care what your sexual preference is. We don't care any of that. All we care about is if you like the music. And if you like the music, you're one of us. Yeah, and don't be an asshole.
Which is always funny watching. Like, I have talked about it on my streams many a time, being at metal shows, and there is that element that is kind of like, the neo-Nazis and stuff like that, just like the punk scene.
Oh,
and they're welcome at our shows as long as they behave themselves, and they can never behave themselves. And it's always fun watching what happens when people get exactly what they deserve.
Yeah. Oh my good. So there's another scene. Yeah, you can tell. Is this before his coming out or after his coming out? Or
that's well before. He came out in '98, if I remember right.
Oh, really? Okay, that
Yeah.
later. Okay, fair enough. And there he is live. And back then, back in '84, in Defenders of the Faith, do you find their costume had a bit? And this is just me as a newbie into the metal world. Did you find Mad Max had a bit of influence on how these guys dressed? Mad Max, Road Warrior. Yeah. It's just me, though.
Because this started being a thing in like '79 with Hellbent for Leather, which was 2 years after the Road Warrior came out. So it definitely had an impact on it.
Nice.
It's definitely got that post-apocalyptic chic.
Yeah, and some of their music too, like stuff off of Point of Entry, like Heading Out to the Highway and stuff like that, like conjures up images of driving through the desert. So, I would hesitate to say that there's not an influence there.
Right. Okay. Well, that was just something I did, like researching the album and all that. I'm like, wow, like I see a lot of Mad Max in this. So the music. Okay, so you said Screaming for Vengeance was their best album, and they took everything that they did right. How about we get into what they did right, and also how they managed to form the new metal sound in the early 80s?
All right. I mean, in the late 70s, metal was kind of developing along along 2 paths, where you had the more produced bands like Rainbow or Judas Priest or even Black Sabbath that had fairly high production value, were going a lot more polished with their sound. And then you had the punk movement that was going a lot dirtier, a lot more aggressive, and very lo-fi production. And that's where you would end up getting the black metal scene coming out in '79. But these guys went the other direction and went much more polished, much more produced, and much faster. So much faster than bands like Black Sabbath, more along the lines of Motorhead and tempo, where they just went borderline speed metal for most of it, and just went with this very epic, bombastic sound and stage show that just kind of blew people away.
And they did, while they're faster, they didn't step into the realms of thrash. So they didn't step on the shoes of bands like Metallica or Slayer.
Yeah, even though they arguably invented that sound in '77.
Yeah, they did.
With the song Dissident Aggressor.
Yeah. It's definitely the precursor to thrash.
Now, would you, like, how James Brown is the godfather of soul and Robert Johnson is the grandfather of blues. What title would you guys give these guys in metal?
Well, I mean, Rob Halford is the metal god for a reason. They actually did a song called Metal Gods in 1980, and they're called that to this day, and with good reason. Black Sabbath invented the sound in 1970, but these guys were the guys to claim the mantle.
Nice. And there we go.
Because a lot of people will try to paint Lemmy as and Motorhead as metal, but they're really just hard rock.
Yeah.
They really don't venture into the metal side.
Although they do blur that line pretty hard.
Yeah, they do.
Later effort.
They do.
But they're kind of maybe like Lemmy and Motorhead. They might be just a notch or a couple notch above AC/DC, for example.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So how did you guys, more or less, Pope and then John, or John and then Pope, whoever, how did you guys discover this band? Like, or metal as a genre?
Because I wasn't even alive when this album came out, so.
I picked it up in '84. I had gotten into Metallica first. That's where technically I got into Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath first.
Okay.
But that was my entry into sort of like the proto metal, and then the Rainbow and listening to some classics. And 81, this band came, Metallica showed up on the scene, and my friend said, "Hey, you got to listen to this album," and I was hooked. And I've been a metalhead ever since. I mean, I still listen to everything else, but metal's my first love. And I got this because I had gotten Screaming for Vengeance. So I knew I wanted the next, their next album. I went back and I got Point of Entry and British Steel.
Oh, yes.
And just everything as far as I'm concerned, as much as I love Iron Maiden, these are the pinnacle of the British heavy metal invasion.
Got it. And you, Pope, being born after this came out, and from what we've talked about, metal wasn't your first love in music. How did you become a headbanger and in chief, of course, and finding out that Judas Priest is your favorite metal band?
Yeah, well, I grew up, with my dad listening to a lot of classic rock and stuff like that, which, led me to bands like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. And then I branched out into, Black Sabbath. And then was more of a rock fan. And then I heard Brave New World by Iron Maiden when it came out in 2000. And it was down the rabbit hole we go. I think the first album I ever bought with my own money was And Justice for All by Metallica. And then unfortunately, I came into it in like the early 2000s when metal was at its lowest point and there weren't a lot of bands out there that were really doing very well, and especially not that you hear on the radio in the US. So I wasn't finding out about any of it.
Right.
And then I kind of went through most of the 2000s. I was in the metal scene but it was kind of like I listened to it but I don't really like actively search out new bands. Went through my military career like that, where, I was kind of insulated from the rest of the world for a lot of it. So I didn't really know about a lot of it. And then I came back out and started getting back into it. And I'd always heard Judas Priest on the radio and stuff like that. And I'd heard them, talked about in the circle all the time. And I just never really done a deep dive into them.
Mhm.
And then I think I picked up Screaming for Vengeance. And I think within a week, I owned every single one of their records.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it was one of those. I'm like, oh my God, these guys are fucking amazing. How did I never hear about this before? And then immediately listen to everything.
Nice.
You picked them up after Rob had come out.
Yep.
So, and it didn't matter. So,
nope. I was about the music first and foremost. Hell, I fucking love Queen, and everybody knew Freddie was gay.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But also, like, I find the music comes first. Like, yeah, you can be gay, you can be black, you can be transgender. Doesn't really matter. How are you in relation to the music? This is what I'm discovering as a new metal fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what it's always been about.
Right. Right. So again, this great album. Okay. And John, you mentioned that it was a great driving album, but personal favorites for you guys, like Pope. I don't need to go too far. I know what your favorite song is Defender of the Faith. Defenders of the Faith.
Actually, mine is on the earlier of the album.
Okay.
And this is my favorite Judas Priest track of all time, full stop, in Rock Hard, Ride Free.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely amazing track. Actually was previously released on, I think, a special edition of Hellbent for Leather as Fight for Your Life. And it didn't really do that well. People weren't really happy with it. And I can see why. It was kind of underproduced and stuff like that. It wasn't quite there yet.
Right.
And so they kind of retooled it, came up with this, and then put it out. And it's, as I said, their best track, full stop.
Got it. So I will, you know what, guys? I got my turntable over there. I will be reviewing this album after with all this new info. What about you, John? What's your favorite track?
I really like the first track, Free Will Burning. Although Heads Are Gonna Roll is a powerful song, but interesting enough, after 9/11, that was banned on a lot of channels.
Oh yeah, because people were requesting it nonstop.
Yeah.
So Heads Are Gonna Roll,
which the band was probably either really happy or horrified by.
Yeah. Now the heavy duty Defenders of the Faith is a good combination because one heavy duty leads directly into Defenders of the Faith.
Yeah, which they're famous for, those twin tracks that one kind of serves as the intro to another. And that had to have been written as an outro for a live set.
Yeah.
Definitely. Which is funny because they also have the best intro of all time on the previous album with the Hellion and Electric Eye.
Yep.
Which is still their walkout song to this day, at least on most of their tours.
Well, I'll let you know in May if they still do it.
I will probably be going to that tour as well because I have seen them live twice now and I cannot wait to see them again. And they're touring with Sabaton, another one of my favorite modern bands that I've seen like 5 times live.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the last bands I have to check off my list of bands that I want to see live that I haven't been able to see yet.
Yeah. You're going to love it, dude. They're phenomenal live.
I imagine they are. I've watched their video stuff, but their concert video stuff, but it doesn't compare to actually being there.
No, you don't get the energy off of the crowd or the band that you get in the actual venue.
Oh, Allie says hello, guys. Hope you have a great show.
Hello,
hi, Allie. Thank you. Is she watching it?
I don't know if she's watching it. She just I told her you guys said hello, and she said hello back. So.
And speaking of lovely ladies, Davina Duckworth just stepped into the chat.
Hey.
Hi, Davina.
Hey,
Thanks
Davina.
for coming in.
How's it going?
Yeah. Mind you, Pope, I believe you got an extreme case of blue balls with Judas Priest, right? Because COVID canceled tickets you had in the show in Boston.
I was supposed to see this exact lineup in 2020 when they were coming through on that tour. And then, of course, due to, the unspecified virus of unknown origin, that got canceled. And then they were going to come through again on the next year, basically the makeup dates for that tour. And then that got canceled. So it was, I had to wait for another 3 years to see these guys live again, but it was worth the wait because they played in a brand new venue right under Fenway Park, and it was amazing.
Well, waiting that long with blue balls like that, it must be love. So I do have the greatest. I do have a good co-host.
That happened to me with Ozzy because Ozzy was going to come through here and then he fell.
Oh.
And then they ended up, and then I got the makeup tickets, and then I got the news that Ozzy's not going to tour anymore. So they gave me a refund, and then he just does special dates now. So I lost I pretty much lost the last time I'll get a chance to see Ozzy. I've seen him before, so it's not like I'm missing anything, but just that one last time, just kind of like I wish I would have been able to make it to Slayer's last tour.
I did see them on that tour. That was a fucking special moment.
That's what I hear. I hear it was phenomenal.
Dude, the mosh pits for like songs like Angel of Death, like normally you know how you have like a circle going in the middle of the crowd? It was like 85% of the crowd. And Divina, Sad Wings of Destiny is a great place to start, especially if you're more of a classic and progressive rock fan. Like that is right where they are.
Yeah.
So, yes. Wings of Destiny. You know what? I might even look into them, Pope.
I think you would really like their early stuff.
Right. Okay, will do. Wings of Destiny. There's one that you showed me. Anyway, they're really good. Like, basically everything you're showing me, like you're sending to me on Gilded and all that, it's all awesome. I'll listen to the rest of their album. Oh, there we go, Divina.
Like if you're going to skip one, I would pick Nostradamus because it's really long and it's not one of their better ones. Unfortunately, I hate saying that because they're my favorite band, but that one's not one of their hits.
I will say this about them: I will hold Downing and Tipton up against any metal duo of rhythm and lead guitar.
And they're the greatest guitar duo of all time. Although Richie Faulkner is just as good as KK, if anything. And it's hilarious that you can do 35 years with one guitar player and then have another one plug in and basically just hit the ground running and just get it. And I own a copy of his Flying V. He's an amazing guitar player and a great dude too. I'm sure John, you've seen the video of him basically having a heart attack on stage and still finishing the solo for Painkiller.
Yeah.
Yep. Before rushing off stage, and turns out he damn near died. It was an aortic, basically his aorta ruptured.
Yeah. And
he had to be rushed into surgery, but he still finished the fucking solo. That is the most metal thing ever.
Agreed.
Yep. Agreed. I just can't believe these guys are going to be 72.
Yeah.
Next, when they come out on stage, and it's like they've got more energy than most 40-year-old bands.
And last time I saw them live, Rob's voice sounds better than it has in decades. And I don't know if you've listened to their new stuff on like Panic Attack and Trial by Fire.
Yeah.
He's hit notes on those records I haven't heard since this period.
Yeah, he's definitely putting everything he's got into this because I think they know that they don't have much time left, so for touring.
True. I mean, let's face it. How many bands can do 54 years on the road, pretty much solid, and still have the energy to keep going?
Oh yeah.
Well, let's put it this way, guys. I'm 52, and I'm going up the stairs one story, and I'm winded. So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. For 72-year-olds, they're in amazing shape.
Yeah, although I think Glenn is probably going to have to bow out of the band before long. He barely ever plays live anymore. He's got fairly advanced Parkinson's at this point, so he's kind of day-to-day, although he does still play on the record. And on the tour, he's basically understudied by their producer, Andy Sneed, who has his own band, Sabat, which you should go check out. And he also produces all the Saxon records, which is why they kick ass so hard these days.
Saxon Records. Wow. Okay, cool.
I wasn't aware of the Saxon connection.
Yeah, like he does all of Saxon, Accept, and Priest ever since like 2010, 2015, I want to say.
20. And speaking of 2015, I got
There we
this poster here, Pope, of them going in Australia in 2015, Judas Priest. Now you can tell Rob's older, but still Defender of the Faith tour. They're still doing that in 2015, which was what, 30 years later?
Yeah.
Right? After 84, 31 years later, they're still pushing this album.
Well,
Whoa,
they still play the Sentinel at every show.
oh, wow. I didn't know that. Okay. And we got
Or
a
almost
mutual
every show.
friend. We got a mutual friend named the Sentinel. That's how good this band is.
Yes, we do. Shout out to him if he's watching.
Shout out to you, dude. So, yeah. So this is the poster I got for that. So, and
Yeah, and I believe this is where they did the entire album as one set live.
Which is always cool to see.
Yeah, I love it when bands do that. They'll take one album and they'll do the whole album.
nice. So, are they coming back to Boston, Pope?
They are coming through Boston. Unfortunately, I won't be there. But the closest one to me will be DC.
Okay.
And I think I'm going to try to go to that one, and possibly Milwaukee as well for currently unspecified reasons.
Now, are they renewing your tickets from 2020?
No, they didn't. That would be the last show I went to. Was the makeup of the makeup of the makeup show.
Right. Got it.
Yeah, I'm going to see them in St. Louis, well, suburb of St. Louis, but on May 5th.
Oh, nice. So
So-
they're going through Missouri too.
Yep.
Well, I don't know if they'll come to Canada. I might
They
even
absolutely will. They've they've put out the American tour dates, but it seems like it's going to be a whole North American event, and they'll probably do an entire second leg of that tour that's all West Coast and Canada.
Right, and that's usually in August, September, October,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I'm just happy there. A lot of bands have been skipping Missouri lately, but I was fully prepared to drive to either Chicago or Denver to go see Sabaton.
Yes, then they are worth that kind of effort.
And Sabaton themselves, they're no slouch in the metal world, right?
Absolutely not. Their last 6 or 7 albums have been absolutely stellar, and their early ones aren't bad either. And of course,
I haven't heard a bad Sabaton song yet.
No, I haven't either. In fact, I think second to Priest, they're my longest Spotify playlist out of all of them. And, it's not hard to figure out why. I mean, power metal military history, where do I sign?
Yep. Power metal's where I live. I mean, I never really got into like black metal or death metal or doom metal that much. It was always power metal for me.
Yeah, I've always liked that more upbeat, aspirational sound and, the more epic, motivating lyrics of power metal. But, it's all good in its own way. It's just a different art style.
Yeah. Although I have been listening to more, I've been listening to some more of the harder stuff than I have in the past. So, like Lamb of God and stuff like that.
I find like Imperatus has said it before, and he's absolutely right that winter is actually the best time to start listening to black metal because there's something about the season that just fits with it. Probably one of the reasons the Scandinavians latched onto it and ran.
Yeah, my latest obsession is Gojira, though.
They're really good.
Japanese?
No,
no,
French.
they are French.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So, guys, do you guys have anything you might want to add to this? We're going to keep this a short one. Any of you want to add to the album and what it signified in metal history and all that?
Well,
personal and professional.
If you get the 30th anniversary CD,
yeah,
it's got a ton of live stuff on it. It's got it's got a lot of their hits, but
right.
It's got probably their best cover of all time, in my opinion. And that's the green Metaliicus.
Oh God, yes.
With the crown, the two-pronged crown.
Nice.
It's actually a song by Fleetwood Mac.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they covered Fleetwood Mac and made it sound absolutely awesome.
Fleetwood Mac metal. Nice.
Yep.
And I would add that, the title of this album is not just, an epic metal song. It's also, Priest has always been kind of the soul of heavy metal in terms of what it means and what it is to be a metalhead and to play metal. And, that was their message to the fans, is that you are the defenders of the faith and that metal will never die as long as people like us keep spinning the records and keep believing in what it means to be a metalhead.
Nice.
I'll be in the nursing home and I'll have my headphones on.
I'll be right there with you.
Yeah, listening to metal, running D&D, and playing video games. That's going to be me.
I can take a workplace suspended retirement.
How cool would it be, guys? You're in the nursing home and some nurse comes in with a Judas Priest tattoo. How cool would that be?
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Although I don't think Allie would appreciate it, but
fair enough. But there's an old saying in French: "Not all truths are good to say."
The French can't be wrong about everything, I guess.
Absolutely. And military tactics, we won't get into that, Pope.
Oh, we need to do that stream because that's going to be fucking hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's not. So, all right, guys. So we're into this, and again, thanks for coming, and I really appreciate this, supporting my channel and all that. So, more or less, would you guys like to promote anything? We'll start with you, John. What do you got?
Well, next week on my channel at 4 p.m. Central on Tuesday, I am doing my part 3 of my Heisei era Godzilla. I'm going to cover the last 2 Godzilla movies, and I'm also going to cover the 3 Mothra movies.
Nice.
What? And you do that with Jed Raven, right?
Oh no, that one's going to be on my own.
Okay.
The week after that, Jed and I are going to go after. We're going to talk about the new Doctor Who, because we'll have all the specials complete, right. And catch everybody up on what's been going on with Monarch Legacy of Monsters and For All Mankind.
Nice, cool. Well, and you, Mr. Pope, I know you're on a hiatus there, but
I'm still going to be doing other shows. As you guys probably know, you can find me every Monday on That 70s Rock Fans channel for It's Only Talk and Roll or Canon Film Club, whichever one we're doing, along with Mr. Das Wolf and usually Christian in chat. So,
and super chats with bad takes and awful jokes you couldn't tell your mom.
Yeah, we're skipping this week. They're skipping this upcoming week, but the next week we're doing Thin Lizzy, and I think after that we're doing the Young Ones.
Those are both going to be excellent.
Oh, I love Thin Lizzy.
And then, you can usually catch me here on Christian's channel for Vinyl Revival, where we talk about more stuff. And, I'll be probably getting back into rock and roll religion here in the near future, we'll say. So until then, stay tuned. And thanks for coming out.
And I've actually got something in the works here, and everybody is welcome. I know, Pope, I asked you, but we are doing a remake of Foreigner's live stream. Unfortunately, at 70s, me and Joe Atmosphere were supposed to do it on 70s, but both of us were incapable of showing up on the day that he made it. So we're doing another one Wednesday, the 13th of December at 10 p.m. at night for those who stay up late. Everybody is welcome to come, and it's basically a favorite of my buddy Joe. It's his favorite band in the world, Foreigner, and this is what I'm working on still then. Pope, you're more than welcome. If you're up to staying late, you're more than welcome to be my co-host. John, you want to come and drop your 2 cents? You're more than welcome, but that's what I got in the works.
I'm always up to talk Foreigner, so.
Oh, really? Yeah,
I like Foreigner too.
You were on 70 Stream, right? When you did, you and Pope were. And ironically enough, 70s actually did that stream for me and
Joe,
because he's been talking to us for 8 months about Foreigner Stream, and boom, I'm working, and Joe ran out of power in Louisiana.
Yep.
So, but on this note, gentlemen, thank you so much. Thanks for stepping in
No,
and helping me
Thanks for
out.
inviting me.
Oh,
Anytime.
hey,
man.
pleasure's all mine, guys. And to everybody in the chat, well, Davina, of course, and whoever listens to this in the near future, thank you for coming on my stream, for sharing our love of music. Until then, have a good one. Cheers.